Welcome, everyone. Uh, Dave Cranfield, brokerage manager here at Penny Insurance. Appreciate your tuning in today or hopping online later and catching the recording. I'm going to keep it somewhat short and sweet today. Don't worry, I won't drag on for an hour. But I did want to share something pretty huge. If you know me and you know Penny, we're not here to plug one carrier over another. We're what I call carrier agnostic, meaning that what we want to do is find the best product for your client. Obviously, you do best for your client, they'll do best for you. That said, I actually really grown to love this Allianz product. And so it's rare that I'll have a product focused specifically on one product webinar, but it just is that exciting of a product to me. And yes, I know I'm an insurance nerd, but it really is that exciting when I got really into the depths of the product. On the IUL space, a little background, folks obviously know about LIRP, the Life Insurance Retirement Planning. Books such as The Power of Zero by David McKnight, shameless plug, get it, he's a good dude. Patrick Kelly's Tax-Free Retirement. With where tax rates are at an all-time low, really, outside of the first 2 years of the income tax in 1913, a lot of folks are starting to think, wait a minute, do I really want all of my money in qualified plans where when I retire, I'm at the mercy of what the IRS says I should be able to keep of my own retirement? And so we're seeing a lot of growth in the IUL space because it's what I call the last great loophole for the middle class, or what we might call a rich man's Roth. Roth IRAs are great, but you're limited on your contributions. So we're seeing a lot of folks going into writing IUL because you've got the tax deferred growth, and then if done properly, tax-free income in retirement. So I won't belabor that point because I think there are plenty of webinars out there about that. But where I really started getting into this product, it just makes the most sense. And you'll see why in a second. Pretty much I'm saying everybody needs to take a look when they're doing an IUL presentation, compare with this Allianz product. Now, a little background on Allianz, of course, you know, they're massive, like 67th largest corporation in the world, number 3 insurance company in the world. So we're not talking about Joe's bowling balls and insurance. We're talking about a massive stalwart in the field. Anyway, I'm going to get into the biggest thing right off the bat. You'll see where even the title says Mastering Allianz's Rate Lock. This is huge. Obviously, you know the stock market, it goes up, it goes down, it goes down, it goes up. It's all over the place, of course. That's by very nature the way that it is. And the beauty of an index product, of course, is you give up some on the upside in exchange for not going on the downside. But one of the big weaknesses, an objection I'm sure you hear back from clients is, well, what if I start it and then middle of the year it's really high, excuse me, but then it goes down to where it was the beginning of the year and I got nothing to show for it. Legit point. You didn't lose. That's nice, but zero is the hero only goes so far. So this is really amazing to me because Allianz, and I'll get to this in a bit, they actually do every single trading day their own options desk, which is why they're able to do this. During the middle of the year, at any point, the client can lock in the game. You'll see here, it protects against getting that 0% I told you about. They might say, hey, I think it's really at the high water mark. Market's up 10%. I will happily take my 10% and move along with that and not risk going back down. So all the verbiage that the home office likes to put in there on the legalese of it may result in higher or lower credit than if not used. And I'll get to an example here in a second. So I'm going to go to this chart. So you'll notice here, this is going to show 2 years of crediting. At the very far left of your screen, you see where it says year 1, starting index level of 100. Up and down, etc. It gets up to 108, and the person says, you know, I'm going to take that 8% gain and call it good. And then over the course of the year, it goes down and comes back up. Had they done a traditional point-to-point product, they would have made 2%. Instead, they made 8. Imagine that. Now, the second year, this is what's kind of cool. So although they locked in at the 108 for the high water mark, they're not starting the second year at 108. They're starting back at where the original or where the ending point was. So in this case, let's say they did the same thing. They're like, well, heck, I got 8%. I'm going to lock that in. Well, you see on the right, it went up to 112. And so to illustrate that it's not always a win, they have us showing that the client did give up some for locking that in. But I will say it's always a win because you still got 8% and didn't risk in the down market. So if you're doing IUL at all, this is a game changer. Now, something that is quite powerful. So we'll see here all the verbiage that, market volatility is a big concern. Americans want products that protect from big losses and come with smaller gains is okay. With index lock, there's two different ways to do it. There's a manual lock and an auto lock, and I'll get to how that works in a second. But what I think is incredibly powerful, I bolded and made bigger at the bottom, is the average locked-in value among their IUL policies is 9.8% when people use the index lock. Allianz is already toward the top of the whole industry anyway in crediting. They're at 6.4% historical crediting on their lookbacks. But imagine that. The set it and forget it does awfully well at 6.4, but people who are actively using their rate locks are at 9.8%. You know how life insurance products are so dependent upon crediting because the internal charges stay the same. That extra crediting over the course of time, over 3% higher, you're going to look at exponential growth in how the policy performs versus its peers. So the auto lock is pretty easy. You set an upper and a lower target. When the target's reached, it activates at the day's end. And I will say, when they activate it, the technicality is that it's at the end of the trading day. So they can't say, hey, it's 3 p.m. and there's still 2 hours left to close. I want it locked in at this exact moment. No, it's going to be the end of the trading day. That would be on a manual lock where they just call in or go online and lock it. But an auto lock is the person says, hey, if it gets up to, name the amount, 10, 12, 13, 15% that I would be credited, I'm going to go, I'm going to take my chips, play with table money, and enjoy that before I have any chance to not have as high of a return. But there's also, on the auto lock, a lower target. And where that comes in, you look at this graphic, and you'll see that, okay, the rates went down, the market goes up, and you'll see the lower target set in yellow, the upper target set in blue. So the client is going along and they haven't yet hit the upper target, they're not going to lock. Once they hit it, it will lock. But let's say it comes up just short. And then from here, it starts going down. On the way down, you can have it lock in at that point. So it could be that you have 7% on the down and 12% on the up. So that means in any point during the year, it goes up over 12. You're locked in. If after it's past the lower target, it goes down, then it'll kick in at the end of that trading day at the lower target to lock that in before it goes down further. So you'll see that's pretty powerful when you look at why we're looking at over 9% versus over 6% on average return. So that in and of itself to me is such a game changer by that simple piece. But the old Ginsu knives commercials, if you remember those, but wait, there's more. I'm going to go a little into the basics of how IUL works. Not too much, but there's a lot of misunderstanding as people will always tell you it does not participate in the markets. It's just indexed to the market.